In this video, I want to talk about flying the glide slope and localizer, how that works and what it looks like for pilots. The simple goal of flying an ILS is to center both the localizer and glide slope indications. But what if they aren't centered? If they are not centered, we need to understand how much off course or off slope we are and what inputs we need to make to our aircraft, pitch, power, bank, etc. to correct to center. The figure seen here is an FAA figure that you may be tested on. The figure shows the meaning of the glide slope indications at the top and localizer indications at the bottom, at different distances from the runway. Let's label this figure so we understand it fully. Let's first focus on glide slope, which is the top half of this diagram. At 5.6 nautical miles from the runway, if our glide slope is centered, we should have an above ground altitude of 1,500 feet. At 1.9 nautical miles from the runway, we will be at 500 feet with a centered glide slope. And at 1,300 feet from the runway, a centered glide slope indication means we are 100 feet above the surface. If we are not centered on glide slope, each dot or notch on the indicator can tell you how many feet above or below the glide slope you are, depending on how far from the runway you are. When at 5.6 nautical miles from the runway, each dot or notch on your indicator off glide slope means you are 210 feet from glide slope. At 1.9 nautical miles from the runway, each dot or notch of glide slope indication off center means you are 70 feet off glide slope. And when at 1,300 feet from the runway, each dot or notch means you are 14 feet off of glide slope. If this green dot is our aircraft at the outer marker, we are right on glide slope and would have a centered indication on our instrument and be at 1,500 feet AGL. If this yellow dot is our aircraft at the outer marker, 5.6 nautical miles from the runway, we are 2 dots or notches above the glide slope on our glide slope indication. This means we are 420 feet above glide slope. And finally, if this red dot is our aircraft at the outer marker, we have an indication of 2 dots or notches below glide slope, and we would be 420 feet below glide slope in this case. Now, let's focus on the bottom half of this figure that is all about the localizer, which gives you lateral guidance on the runway centerline. Again, depending on how far away we are from the runway/localizer, the more deviation we will have from an off-center indication on our instrument. For example, at 5.6 nautical miles from the runway, each dot or notch off of a center localizer indication means you are 775 feet left or right of the extended runway centerline. At 1.9 nautical miles from the runway, each dot or notch is 355 feet off of the centerline. And then finally, at 1,300 feet from the runway, each dot or notch is 215 feet of deviation from that extended centerline. And then if our aircraft is this green dot, we would have a centered localizer indication. So if our aircraft is this yellow dot at the outer marker and our localizer indication shows our needle 2 dots or notches to the left of a center indication, then this means we are 1,550 feet right of the extended centerline. And if our aircraft is this red dot on the outer marker and our localizer indication shows our needle 2 dots or notches to the right of a center indication, then this means we are 1,550 feet left of the extended centerline. The FAA will show you an ILS and then tell you that you are one of these 3 distances, the 1,300 feet, 1.9 nautical miles, or 5.6 nautical miles away from the runway, and then ask you what your displacement is from the localizer and glide slope centers. For example, refer to the figure above and the instrument below. What displacement from the localizer centerline and glide slope at the 1.9 nautical mile point from the runway is indicated? The instrument above, in this picture, shows a glide slope needle below center by approximately 1.5 dots or notches, which tells us we are above glide slope. Remember, we want to visualize that our aircraft is the stationary dot in the center of the instrument, that little white dot. Once we do that, we see that our aircraft is above the glide slope line. It then shows a localizer needle right of center by approximately 1.8 dots maybe, which tells us we are left of course. Since the figure above at 1.9 nautical miles away from the ILS tells us each dot of the glide slope is 70 feet off slope, we can say that we are above glide slope by 70 feet times 1.5 notches, or 105 feet. And since the figure above at 1.9 nautical miles away from the ILS tells us each dot of the localizer is 355 feet off course, then we can say that we are left of course by 355 times 1.8 notches, or 639 feet. As mentioned in our other video lesson on the HSI has the capability to provide lateral and vertical guidance via a localizer and glide slope. The same FAA figure above, seen here for localizer and glide slope displacement, applies for the HSI. So you might get an example using the HSI just as we did. So let's do an example. Consider the yellow aircraft in the figure on approach with the HSI indication shown. What are the localizer and glide slope displacements? The image shows the HSI as an above glide slope indication by about 2 dots or notches, and a left of course indication by 1 dot or notch. The yellow aircraft also reflects this and tells us that the aircraft is 5.6 nautical miles from the runway. 2 dots at 5.6 nautical miles away is a displacement of 420 feet above glide slope, and 1 dot at 5.6 nautical miles away is a displacement of 775 feet left of course. One thing worth talking about is the sensitivity of these indications as you get closer and closer to the runway, and how to use these indications to correct either yourself on the extended centerline or on the glide slope. The localizer is particularly sensitive when you get closer to the runway. Due to the sensitivity of the localizer, it is important that pilots keep their course adjustments on final approach to a minimum. To do this, it is imperative that the pilot understands the wind conditions and required wind corrections prior to entering the approach fix. This way, your wind corrections can be input as early as possible during the approach, which can help minimize course adjustments. It is recommended to not make more than 2 degrees of course corrections while on final, or else you can find yourself in a non-stop vicious cycle of overcorrecting one way only to overcorrect back the way you came, because you just simply can't catch up to the sensitivity of the localizer as you get closer. Pilots usually call this chasing the needle. Therefore, any drift correction should be accurately established before reaching the outer marker, and completion of the approach should be accomplished with heading corrections no greater than 2 degrees. Let's show what this might look like if we don't input our wind corrections early enough, don't limit ourselves to 2 degrees of correction, and get caught chasing the needle. Here we have an aircraft flying with a centered localizer, but we haven't put any wind corrections in. And a crosswind from our right pushes us off course to the left. Our localizer indication shows the same, with the needle off center to the right of our artificial aircraft in the middle of the instrument. So we apply some corrections to our right to get back onto course quickly. But because we are getting closer and closer to the runway, if we don't limit our corrections to 2 degrees, we will likely overshoot the centerline due to the sensitivity of the localizer. Now we find ourselves off course to the right with a needle to the left indication on our localizer instrument. So it's just the opposite now. So we correct back to the left, and again, we make the mistake of overshooting the runway centerline. But now we are too close to the runway and a considerable distance off center. In IMC, this can be extremely dangerous, and the pilot would want to execute their missed approach. The closer you get to the runway, the more likely this chasing of the needle becomes due to the increased sensitivity in their localizer at closer distances. Next, I want to talk about how we can expect to maintain a glide slope easily without also doing the same and chasing the needle of the glide slope. Now, we can intercept the glide slope, but in order to maintain a glide slope and avoid constant corrections above and below the glide slope, we need to target a descent rate. Our targeted descent rate will depend upon our ground speed and the glide slope angle for the approach. Once you know the glide slope angle and your ground speed, you can use a rate of climb / rate of descent table like this one here to determine your descent rate in feet per minute. Then you just match this descent rate on your VSI on your way down the approach. This table is available in the IFR Knowledge Testing Supplement. To use this table, you simply find the column for your ground speed, shown here in red. Then you find the row for your glide slope angle, usually around 3 degrees. You then find which grid fits your ground speed and glide slope angle, and it will give you your rate of climb or rate of descent. You may need to do a bit of interpolating if your ground speed or glide slope angle is not listed. Here in this example, we're using a ground speed of 120 knots and a glide slope angle of 3 degrees. There are also equations you can use to determine your descent rate, but I'm not going to get into those here. When flying with a centered glide slope at the correct descent rate on your VSI, what happens if the wind conditions change on the approach and your ground speed therefore changes? In this situation, you will want to use power at first to adjust your airspeed, because if you use pitch, you're more likely to lose the glide slope / descent rate. So if your airspeed is too fast, initially reduce power to see if that fixes the speed while still maintaining glide slope. If your airspeed is too slow, initially increase power to see if that fixes the speed while still maintaining glide slope. If the change in power fixes your airspeed but removes you from glide slope, then you'll want to adjust pitch to get back to your descent rate and onto your glide slope. Let's show what this might look like flying below or above glide slope and adjusting to get back onto glide slope center. A slower ground speed requires lower descent rate, or else you will find yourself in a below glide slope condition. So if we have a stronger than expected headwind and thus a slower ground speed, we may drop below glide slope if we fly the planned descent rate, because the descent rate is too much for our actual ground speed. For example, we thought we needed to descend at 500 feet per minute because we thought we would have a ground speed of 90 knots. But the strong headwind made our ground speed 80 knots and made our required descent rate only 400 feet per minute. If we fly the 500 feet per minute, we will descend too fast and get below the glide slope. A below glide slope indication on our instrument would be our glide slope needle above our artificial aircraft in the center of the instrument. Remember, think where is the glide slope in relation to the aircraft in the center. In this case, it is above the center aircraft, and therefore it is above our actual aircraft, which means we are below glide slope, as you can see here. Now let's correct this below glide slope indication by adding power initially to increase our ground speed, and then we'll adjust pitch accordingly if that doesn't get our descent rate and onto glide slope. Now, let's say we adjust back to glide slope, but the wind suddenly changes and now we have no headwind. Our ground speed now goes from 90, where we want it for our descent rate, to 100 without the wind. A faster ground speed requires a higher descent rate than we have, or else we will find ourselves in an above glide slope indication. We are simply traveling too fast and eating up too much distance between us and the runway for how fast we are descending. So in the example of a 500-foot descent rate being right for 90 knots of ground speed, something like 600 feet per minute would be needed to lose altitude at a rate that matches our higher ground speed. To adjust back to glide slope, we would reduce power initially to slow our ground speed back to 90 knots so that our descent rate of 500 feet per minute, which we did not change and we don't want to change, matches what we are looking for, and we can get back onto glide slope.